This is our cold water pressure in the kitchen. This is where I fill up water for storage. Those are the things we have to fill up to flush the toilets.
So you can see the sediment from the data center. Wow, and that's just from the water coming out of your faucet.
Yeah, and this is what's in all pipes.
So that is the dark side of living near one of the 4,000 data centers in this country. Did you have any idea there were that many? A data center, which is essentially a giant warehouse with millions of servers, and every time you Google something, your device sends a signal to a data center, and in nanoseconds, your device gets a response back. But with demand growing for AI, demand's also growing for these data centers, which are absolutely enormous. One in Texas called Project Matador is as big as 15 Disneylands and uses as much power as the state of Colorado requires every year. It also uses over 1 billion gallons of water per year. And the public, as always, have been basically kept in the dark by companies like Meta and Amazon, who claim they're creating jobs. But what the rest of the media are not talking about is what life is like for people who have homes near these data centers. Water restrictions, no water, higher energy bills, and unbelievable noise. In Georgia, one data center used 30 million gallons of water, leaving residents without any water. In Utah, a data center that's currently under construction is going to require more energy than the entire state of Utah times 2 annually. And after years of climate nonsense and hysteria, apparently billionaires like Mark Zuckerberg don't care about the climate anymore, because a single data center can generate the same amount of heat as 23 atomic bombs being dropped daily. That is a fact. Kristen Megan is a senior industrial hygienist and environmental specialist. James Clifton is a real estate attorney and Republican nominee for the Fayette County Board of Commissioners, where one of these Meta data centers is causing a lot of issues. It's great to have you both here tonight. Each one of these data centers claim, and this is really important, they all say, and you go online and people are being compensated to debunk this, they all say, no, you don't have to worry about the water, because once we get the water we need, it's a closed loop system. But that's not exactly accurate, Kristen, is it?
No, it's not accurate. And I will say to Kevin O'Leary, I do not work for China. See, anytime that someone is claiming that there's a closed loop system, it is false. You have something called evaporated cooling. Anytime they're using water, they have to use biocides, anti-corrosives, and they have to discharge that water and refill it. And even closed loop systems can still use up to 5 million gallons of water a day. And they're often placing these in places that have very low aquifers. And that's why the video that you showed in the opening, it lowers the water pressure, because these wells and aquifers are not being refilled at a rate that is up with the demand of these data centers.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, Kristen, why are they being built in areas that are already dealing with drought all over the country?
You know, I'm also very confused about that, but I do know that these data center companies are looking for weak zoning laws, struggling farmers and ranchers, for false promises of return of investments that are not really coming to fruition. So it's a head scratcher for me also. But the irony is there is better engineering controls, there's better technology, there's smaller footprints, there's better ways to do this. And I'm not against AI. I'm against the rush in doing it improperly.
Yeah, and why do we need so many of these things so quickly? I think that's very suspect. James, I've got 30 seconds, but do you think these centers could be used for surveillance, military surveillance, to monitor private citizens, mass surveillance, 4,000 of these all across the country and more being built every month?
Of course, that is one of the aspects that data centers can be used for. That's why I believe that's why we see such a high concentration of them in Loudoun County, Virginia, just outside of Washington, D.C. And I think that it's a critical aspect, especially with visual types of AI, where they have to identify certain things like flock cameras, self-driving cars and things like that, that they are going to be used to monitor us indefinitely. And I want to say real quick, thank you to the people of Fayette County for putting your faith in me in the May 19th election.
Absolutely. I'll just add to that, by the way, just final thought on the sound. So some of these, our sound is anywhere between 90 and 120 decibels, which would be like sleeping next to somebody in the room who's operating a power tool. Think about that, and think about people that have worked so hard to buy a home, and suddenly one of these things goes up and it's right next door, and you're dealing with that every single day, 24 hours a day. They never turn them off. Kristen, Megan, James Clifton, hope to have you back. Thank you.